Hello, it's a little difficult to get you guys in one room all together, so I thought I'd make a quick little video. You can watch it whenever you want and see what you think about the project. So these incentives were set up to help reduce the energy on the grid, the taxation of all the businesses using energy, and so the incentives are applicable to new roofs, solar, EV chargers, lighting, HVAC, and compressed air upgrades. Some manufacturers need those. And so here's Mercury Plastics. They just signed up their fifth project with us. Uh, this is a TMA member. I'm not sure if they're totally up to date on their stuff, but they do have the plaque in their office, and but they don't really come around much. But they wanted to do the roof and didn't really want to write a check. In all cases, they used the power company funding to do it and taking advantage of the incentives available in order to get the project completed and offset by those incentives. So I have yet to have somebody do this because it's a green thing to do. Here's why he did it. The roof and solar combo price was 1.9 million minus almost 1.8 million worth of incentives. So he gets a new roof and he ends up still saving 73,000 per year. A new roof, solar, the whole project ends up covering the incentives cover all but 119,000 of it. And because he used the power company funding, the project never went negative under cumulative cash flow. So that's why they do it. And businesses are always busy making their items, so uh, we find the incentives and go after them. So we've been around doing that for businesses since 1985, and we do have the power company funding option. They look at a couple years financials, and there's no payment at all until it's fully completed and the solar's turned on. So if you were to decide to do this project and we put the roof on and got the solar up there, maybe it's turned on in the spring, we would guess about what month is this going to be completed, and then we would set up the first payment to start then. And then it's 60 payments, the same amount from that moment. So the biggest incentive is the 30 to 40% dollar for dollar tax credit. So even though you guys don't pay taxes, you would get a check in lieu of the tax credit for right now it's 40% of the project cost. And Trump has these being phased out. So we have until July 4th of next year to lock in 5% of the project. So, but one of the problems is you have to spend 5% and we have to order the materials. So right now on the panels, everyone's ordering materials in order to safe harbor the project. So that means you lock in all these incentives, and you don't have to complete it this year. You complete it next year or the year after if you do this safe harbor program with 5% of the materials. So that's what's in jeopardy. And right now, 40% of the cost of the roof and solar combined is a pretty big check that you guys would get. So, plus the state offers solar renewable energy credits and power company incentives. So there's an inverter rebate. And the SREC money, they charge extra on everyone's bill in order to pay for this, and then they give you that set amount of money back. But as time goes on, they have it set to go be graduated lower to get people to do these projects sooner rather than later. And the power company incentive, the same thing. That amount goes down over time, but they charge everyone on their bill for this added, cost, and they call it efficiency charges and all that. But they're not being nice. They're just giving you money back for this program, but taking out of everyone's bill. So we use only Bloomberg certified tier one equipment. So the panels, everything has to be the actual racking system is made by an Illinois company, and panels are assembled and made in the U.S. But not every single component. They're working on that, but we're almost there. So Camcraft, I think you guys know Camcraft. They did their roof and then decided to do solar a year later. So because it wasn't one project, they missed out on capturing 40% of the cost of their roof back. They would have gotten a tax credit, and they missed out on that. But they're happy with doing solar, and um, you know, they did a nice project there. And so here's the TMA. Uh, we put the panels on, so um, our panels are 590 watts per panel. They're Q-Peak Duo, so they're bifacial. So if any sunlight hits the roof, goes into the bottom of the panel, that creates additional energy. But so we have a 30-year warranty on those, and there's no holes in your brand new roof. So we put the roof in, and then it's a weighted ballasted system, so not a single hole goes in. But we do usually go down the outside wall to tap into where the meter is. And so the way it works is if you're closed on the weekend and the solar is producing energy, ComEd puts in what they call a net meter. So the way net metering works is it measures and sends out that energy out on the grid, but the TMA gets a one-for-one credit for that when it's wintertime or your after hours and it's not producing. You get those credits back. So 120 panels plus the inverter all go on the roof. And so when you add up the panels, it's a 70 kilowatt system. We guarantee this production number, this 80,000 kilowatt hours per year for 30 years. And if for some reason it doesn't produce that, we get an alert. And this shows this covers 100% of the energy you guys go through in a year. So saving you an extra 10,000 per year. And when you put 80,907 kilowatt hours into the EPA website, that's where it gives you 57 CO2 metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions are reduced per year. So we put in the current rate you're paying, and that's how we calculated the cost. So the combined project roof, solar, and funding is 502,961 minus the tax credit, which would be a check back to you guys, 146,000. Plus, you get the Illinois SREC money over 73,000, paid over 7 years, so 10,000 per year, give or take, would be a check coming back to the TMA. So when you take the funded price, 502,961, minus the total incentives, you're ended up with 282,000 not covered by incentives, and then saving per year. So we put that in a little spreadsheet. So if you're using this power company funding, you do not write a single payment until the project's fully completed and turned on. So this $100,000 divided by 12 would be your payment each month as a line item right on the power bill. You save this $10,000 a year. We put in a 3% accelerator. That's why it goes up a little bit over time, because that's been the historical average. And you get $9,904 per year. So every quarter you would get a check that would add up to $9,904 each year. You would get the tax credit check, and then the bonus depreciation part you might miss out on, and because you're an association, might not be able to take that. But I'm not sure how you're structured, so we did list it there for bonus depreciation. So because of that, you make your final payment. If you look at cumulative cash flow, your last payment where you make your full investment is in year 5. So normally a roof has no ROI, but in this case, it's an 8-year ROI, which is better than 0 ROI. And this last column here with red is you paid for the roof and missed out on the solar savings. So you end up being negative $696,000 versus being up $301,000. So the difference is a $997,000 difference. So Manor Tool, Camcraft, Rocker Ball Screw, Brico Machine, Donson Machine, Mercury Plastic, Chicago Boiler, and quite a few others have done projects with us. There is a long time frame here because the first problem is ComEd has to do an interconnection approval, and because they're a monopoly, they take their sweet time, and they're getting overwhelmed because people are trying to lock in these incentives. So they're getting a lot of applications in right now. So if it takes 10 to 16 weeks to get that approval, we can't start any of the other stuff truly until we get that. We can't order materials. So Class Distributing had a pretty big project here, an expensive roof, and ended up with a 5-year ROI. And sometimes it seems too good to be true, but they did use the power company funding and ended up with a 5-year ROI.
About a year and a half later, we can say never paid a dime for anything. Got over $2 million worth of solar equipment on the roof, and we're going great. Jim and his team at Revenue Task Force did a great job finding money everywhere between incentives and grants and rebates, tapping into federal money, state money. The energy companies are offering an incentive. So it was really, really a great program. Really happy with what we did here.
So let me know if you have any other questions. Have a great day.